let's move to Anita Jamasebi, who is the head of the London office of MJV Technology and Innovation. The floor is yours.
So I'll give you a little bit of background in what I do. So I've been working in innovation for about the past 5 years, where I started in telecoms and then moved towards more specific innovations. So now I'm working for an innovation consultancy called MJV Technology and Innovation. So we are a global organization. We're actually headquartered in Brazil, but we have offices globally, and I'm heading up our London office within Europe. And so we've been in business for about the past 20 years, where we actually started off as a technology company, and we started to see the value of design, and that's where we decided to bridge together design and technology in order to kind of create some real competitiveness in the market. So a lot of what we do is around business innovation and strategy, so how we actually use design as a strategic enabler inside of multinational organizations. And then also towards more technology and digital solutions. So a lot of what we do is focus both on internal innovation, so how do we empower employees and create a culture of innovation inside of organizations, and then also more towards external innovation. So how can we create real value in products and services and launch them into market? Some of our clients that we work with in the UK, some of our biggest clients are within the banking industry, so BNP Paribas, in the energy industry, Centrica and Coca-Cola, which I'll go through a few of our case studies at the end. So to start kicking off the purpose of innovation. So it's really about how to keep up in such a fast changing world where our consumers are very complex and are very demanding. And I've used this analogy here of Barbie, where now there are more and more representatives of different Barbies and how these women look like. And there was a more recent campaign on Twitter from men stating that Ken is not a representative of men, and we need more and more representatives of who we are as consumers. And this is just to really just demonstrate how in a changing world, there's increasing more complexity and demand from consumers. And of course, innovation is vital. So this is one of my favorite quotes from Einstein. If you always do what you always did, you will always get what you always got. So what we really encourage is trying to think outside of the box, try something new, try different experiences in order to really understand, how you can improve in certain areas. So challenges. What are some common challenges that our clients come to us about? So how can we achieve more results from our innovation efforts? What's the best innovation path for our organization? How can we build an entrepreneurship culture? And how to establish an innovation mindset? So there's sort of two different challenges. One is around culture and how to create this mindset of innovation, not just jumping to solutions, but actually thinking about, okay, what are the problems that we're trying to challenge? What is strategic for us and what should we invest in? And making sure we're investing in the right challenges that will affect our organization going forward. And then the other types of challenges is around how to actually get results, how to deliver on kind of KPIs, and actually being able to test and validate new ideas and concepts, new business models that will really affect our industry. And for us, streamlining innovation is key. And you can have the powerful brains in the organization, but if they come together without a clear process, then it's wasted energy. So for us, incorporating innovation methodologies, design thinking being one of them, is essential. And also what's important is that we often see different innovation departments, or those tackling very similar challenges within organizations, and they're all tackling them individually. So a really big effort is actually streamlining, bringing those silos together in order to tackle big problems as an organization. Okay, so how do we do that? Of course, design is the answer. And for us, design, again, is more about strategic decision-making and process, and not just about beautiful products or services. And so it's proven that design can boost on average 40% performance compared to other companies over a 5-year period. And kind of what is innovation, or what's the balance between what makes an innovation ecosystem? So at the center, we have what we call the human needs. So this is what is core to design thinking, and being able to empathize with our end users and know what are their needs, their desires. Secondly, it's business value. So how do we know we're generating real value for our consumers? And thirdly, technology feasibility. So what technology can support us in this? And about 90% of startups fail because they fail to address the human needs. So actually understanding what is the problem that you've identified, and is it the right problem that you're tackling? And so between these three, you have in the middle what we call the sweet spot of innovation, and that's where you innovate, essentially. Just here an example of one of our clients, Coca-Cola. So for them, it's all about kind of engaging and empathizing with your end users to create powerful campaigns. So here they were really trying to think about what are the joyful moments in consumers. And what design thinking actually did is to really empathize with them and understand what's the reality of their lives, and being able to engage with humans on a different level. So here's kind of an image to present that, and actually being able to generate campaigns which are more empathetic to who their actual users are and how they interact with their product. So I won't go through too much detail. Again, this is showing the design thinking process. So being empathetic, human-centered, working collaboratively in teams from different disciplines, being able to make ideas tangible, and this is very core to the process. And so for us, prototyping can be anything. It can be storyboarding on a piece of paper, writing a few sketches. It doesn't have to be something technical, something sophisticated. It's very, very simple. And we use that constantly throughout our design sprints or incubations that we hold. And it's a great way to actually very quickly, within a day, within a week, to validate and test your ideas. And then feasibility and business value. So being able to take a problem and generate a solution that addresses that problem. So I'll quickly go through how to innovate and where to start from. So a lot of our clients say, okay, it's about creating ideas, but it's not. It's about finding problems. So just a question here, how would you design a better drill? So imagine you want to hang a picture on the wall, how would you design a better drill? Any ideas? So a lot of people respond by saying a lighter drill, a more powerful drill. But a designer's answer would be, okay, so melting So that's, a lot of people will state these type of answers, but a designer's approach would be to answer with a question. So actually reframing the question and think, how would you design a better hole in the wall? Or even better, does it even have to be a hole? And you can see how 3M have created these Velcro sticky patches where you can hang very heavy pictures onto the wall. So it's about reframing challenges and really thinking and questioning an initial problem. So people don't want to buy a 1/4-inch drill. They want a 1/4-inch hole. So it's actually finding the core root. What is the core problem that we're trying to address? So we would spend, as consultants, majority of our time focusing on the problem. And it's a very, very difficult mindset to communicate. And it was only just last week we had a 1-week design sprint workshop where we're working with a technology company in combination with Coca-Cola in order to look at a very complicated process for designing a new bottle, to having that in your store. And there was a lot of resistance, especially from the technical company, who were very much against the mindset. And I think what was key is, although they created a lot of fuss, a lot of questioning throughout the process, by the end of it, they saw the true value of design thinking. And it's very much a mindset that once you experience it, you then understand, okay, there are very painful processes as part of the design thinking methodology where you converge and diverge again, and there'll be points where you're very lost in the process, and I think that might be something you will experience later today. But the point is, you have to have faith in the process, and by the end of it, you will achieve the results that you want to achieve. So here, Einstein's quote: "If I had an hour to solve a problem, I'd spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about the solution." So again, it's all about problem thinking. And of course, acceptance is key. So for organizations, you may identify several challenges that you think are problems, but if it's not strategic to your organization and people are not willing to tackle that, then there's no point investing in that challenge. So senior management need to be on board in order to tackle this. And so there are a lot of ways of problem solving. Just very briefly, these are 4 different approaches. So we have engineering, which is more about mathematical and science, where if you want to build a bridge, for example, you use mathematics in order to come up with that solution, and then you can repeat that several times. Once you know how to build one bridge, you can build several bridges. And then you have the research approach, which is mainly looking at past data, and this is a very traditional approach inside of organizations. So looking at what past data do I have inside of my company, and how can that help me write a business case for a new business case. So looking at past results for products or services and past numbers in order to build that business case. Then you have business thinking, which is more around how can I gain more market share or improve a product portfolio. You can never really stop. You can always increase your market share. There's a lot of activities you can do, and there's not really always a clear solution. And then there's design thinking, which addresses wicked problems. So those where there isn't a clear problem, like tackling climate change, but it's really about having this human-centered approach and talking to your users in order to tackle that challenge. So I believe that innovation is everyone's jobs, and if we all think as designers, then the world could be a better place. And thinking about, what are the problems, and rethinking, are these problems do we want to tackle them, and what's the root cause of this problem? So just to give you a few examples. So this is one of our banking clients we've been working with, and we started off applying the design thinking process to how we work. So started trying to understand what is the culture of innovation inside of the bank. What are some of the challenges that we're facing with employees? And of course, culture was one of the biggest barriers. So we had many excuses, such as, okay, that won't work here, we've always done things this way, it's not my problem, I don't have time to innovate, it's marketing's job to do that, my idea has been rejected once, why should I bother innovating again? And this is something that we're always faced with, these barriers. So what we decided to do is actually start to cluster and profile some of these employees and what are their core challenges, their behaviours to innovation. And then through that we held a collaborative sessions with key people inside of the bank in order to tackle that problem. So how can we build an innovation program that really tackles the mindset and encourages employees to start contributing to innovation and putting some of their effort into that. And as a result, we came up with an entrepreneurship program. So this we've been doing for about the past 5 years, and we started in a small area within the bank, and now have expanded globally across Europe, Hong Kong, New York, to Asia and the US. And so what's really key is that everybody is able to contribute to innovation. They can request what we call innovation in a box, which is a tailor-made designed toolkit in order to actually take a challenge that you face and being able to develop an idea for that. And it takes you through the process. And design thinking is not the only approach, so we combine a mixture of methodologies, design thinking, jobs to be done, design-driven innovation, and combine them into a full package that was really tailored to a bank. And once they submit an idea through their box, they're able to then have a one-day workshop where they can start bringing those ideas to life. And from there, senior management can start assessing which ideas are really valuable to the bank and do we want to invest in these further. If yes, we will take them through to an incubation, which is a 1-week design sprint where we try to crash their ideas and test them with end users. So continuously we will question their ideas, take them through the design thinking methodology and other templates like business model canvas, and help them to develop their ideas by the end of that week. So they would have a prototype and almost like a mini business plan. From there, if they accept it and the idea goes through to the next stage, this is when they will be allocated a small amount of funding in order to actually start testing their idea further and being able to employ people outside of the bank, whether they're software engineers or other designers, in order to further test and prototype these new ideas and validate that there is a space for this idea inside of the bank. So throughout this process, you would get a variety of ideas. They could be anything related to internal innovation in the bank, how to improve sort of employee satisfaction, all the way to improving the B2B onboarding of clients, which are very complicated, long processes with multiple stakeholders, can take months to actually solve. And we try to break that process down and see how we can take something that takes several months into less than a month. And so part of the acceleration is that they create a minimal viable product, and for that solution can then be placed either within a certain department inside of the bank or in a completely new area of the bank. So this process has been continued the past 4 years now, and they're starting to see results. Yet, in terms of culture, there is still a lot of challenges that we're facing. So there's a lot of resistance, people who don't want to change, or even people who are still submitting ideas and they're being rejected. And so this is still a big thing to actually being able to manage, is culture change, and we don't have the answer for that yet. Just quickly, another example. So this is what we call a design sprint. This is where we try to combine capabilities. By capabilities, I mean trying to disperse the knowledge of design thinking. What does it mean and how do you actually apply it in real life, in combination with a real life challenge. And so here we were looking at a drink client, and they were looking to see how they can reposition one of their brands in several markets. So we had a design sprint happening globally in Indonesia, Jakarta, several countries in Europe and also the Americas, all with a different focus on their local markets. They started about trying to understand what are their user needs. So we go to cafes, restaurants, approach people in the public to try and extract what are their needs, what do they enjoy in the market. And going back to a question earlier about, customers don't always know what they want. And I think that's important, that you not only should ask your customers what they might enjoy, but actually just observe them and just have a look, what are they actually consuming? What are they doing? And I think it's very core to kind of combine different research methodologies in order to actually observe your end users. And then throughout the week, they will start ideating, prototyping, and they will have an initial mock-up of prototypes. So it just sketches, storyboards, and they'll go back to their users in cafes, parks, and they'll validate, does this image of this drink look like something that you could drink? So very simple prototypes, and being able to validate that continuously. And so by the end of the week, on Friday, they would have digital prototypes. They would have one UX designer per team who would help them digitalize that bottle shape, the look, the feel, in order to then pitch their idea to senior executives. So this 1 week process would have taken them months to actually be able to do. And so by consolidating it in such a short period of time, each group can almost create a mini business case in order to pitch to senior executives. So that was a very brief, a quick overview of what we do. We've done a lot around internal innovation and with different clients. So this is an area you're interested, come talk to me either during lunch or during the breaks.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anita. I hope we've helped you at least a little bit to understand how to implement innovation process. So now you'll hear more about how to develop the innovative mindset.